Starting and running a business is hard, but you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're an established business owner or thinking about starting a side hustle to earn extra income, I am here to teach you how to show up as your unfiltered self, level up your business, and thrive as a mompreneur. Let's embrace the chaos and start enjoying the journey together. I'm Amy Traw, and you're listening to the Motivated Mompreneur Podcast. Welcome back into the Motivated Mompreneur Podcast. Today, I am talking with Sarah all about knowing our numbers and why this is so important in bookkeeping, accurate books, being the key to profit growth, all of the things numbers related. So with that being said, Sarah, welcome into the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for joining me today. So before we dive in, can you tell us more about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yep, so my name is Sarah Moser. I am a registered CPA in the state of Texas. Straight out of college, I went into that traditional Big Four public accounting corporate world, and I very quickly realized that wasn't for me, and I kind of fell in love with small businesses. I came from a family of a lot of entrepreneurs, so that really just was something I was really interested in, and I found that a lot of entrepreneurs are really missing the numbers piece, don't really understand it, get really overwhelmed by it. And so I got into this world of bookkeeping for small businesses, and it's just been an amazing journey so far.
I love it. And how cool that you have such like an entrepreneurship background in your family, because that can be something we struggle with. I mean, for me, I come from a very like college degree, like, okay, this is what you're going to do, this, that, and the other. We work for someone else. We don't work for ourselves. So that's awesome that you had that background. And now you're helping other entrepreneurs be more successful, because that's really where a lot of it comes in, is our numbers and knowing. So why are numbers important? Let's start with that.
So I like to say that bookkeeping and accounting is like the language of business. And if you don't understand it, you're going to have a hard time making decisions in your business. You're going to have a hard time when it comes to tax season. You could potentially end up paying more in taxes or not enough in taxes, and neither of those are good things. So it truly is the backbone of your business, and it's so important to have a clear, accurate picture of what's going on financially.
Yes, so important. So what numbers as a small business owner should we be tracking?
So I always start with the profit and loss. So that is your total sales for the month. That's the top half of the profit and loss statement. And then all of your expenses for the month. And then that gets you to your profit. A lot of times people tend to focus too much on sales, which is great. You have to start with sales, but that's only half the story, right? So you could even be making, 10K in sales a month, 100,000 in sales a month. But if your expenses are more than that, you're still at a loss. So you really need to focus on both halves of that equation to get really the full picture of what you're actually profiting.
Oh, absolutely. Because, a lot of those operating expenses, they can add up quickly.
Yes,
and I mean, how many times have you signed up for like a free trial of something? And then, all right, it keeps getting billed every single month.
And you don't notice if you're not looking at it every month, and then 6 months, a year go by, and you're like, oh crap, I've been getting charged for this, and I'm not even using it because I completely forgot about what it even was. So yeah, that's why it's so important to stay on top of it every single month, so you catch stuff like that before it gets too far along.
Yes. So everybody talks about QuickBooks kind of being like the gold standard of like tracking numbers and profit and loss and that sort of thing. Are there other options, or is QuickBooks kind of like, no, you really should be using this?
Yeah, so I like QuickBooks. I have some clients using QuickBooks, and it's a great option. I also really like Xero, which is not quite as popular in the US, but it's gaining some popularity. So Xero is another option. But you don't even have to use an accounting software if you're just getting started. Like, you can use an Excel sheet, and that can do a lot of good for a while. Eventually, you probably will need something more robust like QuickBooks or Xero, but starting out, you can truly just use a spreadsheet, and it'll probably be just good enough.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us did that. That's what I did when I first started a business. When you're still not gaining, generating a lot of revenue, but at the same time, you want to be tracking those numbers. You want to track those expenses, because those are write-offs, and that can potentially save you at tax time, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's like a pretty big misconception of like, oh, well, I'm not making any money, so I don't really need to, keep track of anything. But you want to keep track of those expenses because, like you said, that can be a write off that can lower your tax liability when it comes time for taxes. So super, super important, even before you're making money, keep track of those expenses.
Yes, and one that I hear so often women in my circle talking about is mileage. They forget to track their mileage, and that's a huge
Yeah,
write-off at the end of the
yeah.
year, right?
And it doesn't seem like it because I'm trying to think of what the mileage rate is this year because it's like
It's always
60
changing.
cents or
Yeah,
something. It's
yeah.
like really small, but if you're driving a lot, it adds up so, so quickly.
Yes, especially if you have like a service-based business. But I mean, even me, I work out of my home, but I do a lot of different networking events. So I'm going
Mhm.
to conferences, I'm going to different meetings. We have a monthly meetup
Yeah.
each month, different events. And you can write that off as long as it's something in your business, right? What's the
Yep.
rule around that? What
So it,
mileage are we able to
yeah,
deduct?
so it has to be related to business. So like you said, if you're going to a networking event, even if you're like going to the bank to do some banking for your business, that counts. But if you have like a physical location, say you have a storefront, driving from your house to your storefront, that doesn't count because that's considered like a typical commute. But anything outside of your typical commute, if you have a physical location, you could, take that mileage.
Right. And it adds up, like you said, so fast.
You know,
I mean, all those little trips, it's just, yeah, it does. So make sure you're tracking your numbers, even in a spreadsheet, because
yep,
literally you can highlight and it'll add it up for you at the
yep.
end of the year. So, right there, I think that's a huge deduction that people are missing. What are some other deductions that you see that your clients are missing on a regular basis?
Yeah. So home office deduction is another one, and there's kind of a couple different methods that you can use to take that home office deduction, and that's more of a tax preparer question who can figure out which way is the best option for you. There's a simplified method, which is just a flat rate times the square footage of your office area in your house, or there's the actual method, and there's some like nuance to which way is the best. So definitely work with your tax preparer on figuring out that. So that's a big one that people miss. Um, what else? I don't know. I feel like most often it's not that they're like missing things like mileage or they're just not keeping track of their books and say they might pay for something on their personal credit card, but it's a business expense and then they forget to add that back into their books. So that's another reason why it's a really, really important to have a dedicated business account or a dedicated business card and have everything running in and out of that account. Because if you put something on your personal card in January and then you get to, the end of the year and you're trying to think back, you're probably not going to remember it. So that's why it's huge to have it all in one place and it makes it so much less likely that you'll forget something like that.
Exactly. And I mean, especially as moms, I know I always have like a million things running through my
Right.
mind. I'm not going to remember what was that $1.27 charge at Office Depot? Like, what did I
Right.
get there? You know, what was happening around there? I
Or
know I
like
printed something, but yes.
Amazon, that could be
Yeah.
personal, that could be business. Who knows? I'm not going to remember that a month from now. I don't even
e-
probably can remember that a week from now. So you just have it
Exactly.
all together, all in one place. It'll make your life so, so much easier.
Yes, and that's the key as a mompreneur. Like make your life easier. It does not have to be nearly as complicated
No.
as we're making it out to be. And there's so many banks that are so small business friendly. I know mine, I don't even pay a monthly fee up to like I once I hit a certain threshold in transactions, then I get charged a fee. But there's options out there. So don't stop yourself from getting a business bank account just because you're like, what's too much money? I can't afford that. No,
Yeah.
there's options out there.
There's
You just
options
have
out
to do
there.
a little legwork there, but
Yep.
it does make life so much easier. Now, I am a huge advocate of when I start working with a client, like I always tell them there are two people that you need to outsource like from day one, and one of them is a CPA. So why do you feel as though outsourcing to a CPA is necessary and not a negotiable thing as a business owner?
Yeah. So I am a CPA, but I don't offer tax prep, which I think is what you're getting at when you say hire out a CPA. But even as a CPA myself, I don't do my own taxes because it's that
Mm.
complicated.
Yes.
There's a lot of nuance. I know a lot of people like love TurboTax, and you can do it. And if you're really small and just starting out, it might work out. But there's so much that you don't know. Like tax laws are just so complicated. There's so much that you don't know. And these tax professionals, these CPAs, these enrolled agents, this is their job. This is what they do all year long. And it might cost you some money to have them do it, but you're going to get more than that back in what you save in taxes by having a professional do
Absolutely. And even from a tax planning perspective, too,
it.
I'm always asking her, okay, where do I classify this? How do I do that? And just from a tax standpoint, like, all right, do I need to be, you know, going from a sole proprietorship now to an LLC or to a S corp? And I mean, it's so
Yeah,
complicated.
yeah.
Like,
And like that's another thing is like you can only do so much at year end. Like if you're only
right.
meeting with your tax preparer or only talking to them in January, February after the year is over, you can't do anything,
Yeah.
right? So if you keep in touch with them all year long, and you can kind of plan a little bit, and if you need to like move some expenses from the upcoming year into this year to kind of save on some taxes and do things like that, or like you're saying about like the structure of your business, the entity type, and how that's going to affect your taxes, you can't do that at year end. Like it's too late by then. So it's always good to be in contact with your CPA all year long, so you're not stuck kind of at the end of the year when it's time for taxes.
Right, exactly. It's just better to be proactive versus
Mhm.
reactive. You don't want to
Yes.
find yourself in the middle of an audit and trying to sift through mountains of receipts. Like, it's important to
Yeah.
really know your numbers. And like you said, that lets you help, make those decisions a lot easier. Like, okay, would it be better for me to buy that new computer for my business this tax year or next tax year?
Yeah.
They can help you see again those blind spots in your business. And that's where you grow. By
Yeah.
knowing your numbers, you actually see that objective data as to what's working, what's not, what's bringing in revenue, what's not bringing in revenue. And
Mhm.
that way you can strategize.
Yep. Yep. That's my favorite part of what I do, is seeing the like transformation in the confidence of these women that I work with when they go from, okay, well, I know I'm making, kind of this much in sales, and I know I'm, spending some money, but I don't really have like a clear picture. And then when they see it in black and white, they're like, wow, okay, this is exactly how I'm doing. Now I know that I can, invest in this next thing, or I can take on a new team member, or maybe this service that I'm spending a lot of time on, it's not really making me any money. So maybe I need to drop that so I can focus on something else that's more profitable. Just like that transformation in the confidence they have when you see it in black and white it's amazing.
Yes, it really is a transformation and it's empowering your clients with the confidence. So, if you are listening to this conversation today, please start tracking your numbers, know your numbers, dive into it. Taxes aren't something that we should be scared of. Just know your numbers and work with a trusted professional. And that right there, that will help you grow. This is an investment you need to be making. You
For
need to
sure.
have a CPA in your corner. You need to have someone that's preparing your taxes in your corner. So important. Sarah, this was a great conversation. So many nuggets of wisdom. Where can we learn more about you?
Yep. So I hang out mostly on Instagram at Sarah Moser CPA.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share all of your value with our
Yes. Thank
listeners.
you so much. It was great
Um,
being here.
yes, and until next time, stop dreaming and start taking messy action. You've got this. Are you loving what you're hearing? Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.